Good, good.
So basically, what we are doing right now is we are just building that foundation right now
Right.
of all the various concepts. The introduction to Gita, the 7 session course we did, that gave us like a broad overview on the Vedic philosophy and certain context it had given. So now we are diving deeper into Bhagavad Gita, and specifically the first chapter we saw that how it is the the settings for understanding the Vedic knowledge properly, Arjuna's situation. And then last couple of weeks, we saw the second chapter after Arjuna's surrender, Krishna instructs. And then the last week, we saw the 3 most important verses from the Gita. These are the 3 different, very, very, very important slokas Krishna speaks: 2.12, 13, and 14. And those 3 verses is the one where this is the beginning of philosophy. Krishna begins with the philosophy that first, that we are not this body, we are all spirit. So as I said, that how there is a continuum between material science and spiritual science. Material science is trying to understand so many things in the nature, how things are working around us. So in that curiosity, even in our search for understanding things, the most unanswered question is that what is the source of life? How life begins or how life starts. Of course, there are various theories. Some people will give Big Bang theory, and some people will give some kind of a primordial soup was there in the beginning, and then some lightning struck from that chemical. Somehow the life started. You know, but these are all, we know that these are all theory. There is no proof. They are all speculating on different ways. Still, the most unanswered question today in science is what is the source of life? How life begins? So now from this particular verse 2.12, Krishna very clearly says that we are all eternal, and then we are all spirit souls. So life does not come from matter. Life is not simply a combination of set of chemicals. Our body is made up of chemicals, but the soul itself is not made up of any material element. It is anti-material or spiritual. The concept of the genes and a DNA and all of them, they are all part of our material body. They are all the instruments to make our material body work. The brain is the interface between the mind, which is subtle element, and the body, which is gross element, which is made up of gross. Mind is the interface. The DNA and the other, all other genes and everything, they're all programming elements given to make this body function in certain way. They're all like the switches to turn on and turn off certain features in the gross body. The more the subtler aspect of the body, which is the mind, subtle body, that contains the blueprint based on our desires and based on our karma. So the genes and the DNA, they act as an instrument to deliver those karma by turning on, turning off certain features in the gross body. So the most, as I said, the most unanswered question in science is the cause of life. And the moment we understand that cause of life is not matter, spirit, that's the conclusion of the science. This is the ultimate conclusion can come through science. By searching through various combination of atoms, still I am not able to produce life. Hence, life should be coming from something else other than matter. So that is the conclusion of material science. Where material science concludes, the spiritual science begins. So that's what Krishna's instruction is. Krishna's instruction is Natve Vaham Jatunasam, Natvam Neme Janatipaga, Nachevana Bhavishyamaga Sarve Vayam Ataparam. Right? There was never a time I did not exist, nor all these kings, nor you. and there will never be a time we will all cease to exist. So that, that instruction is the beginning of all philosophy or spiritual life. So this is very, very important verse. As I said, it's a very, very profound verse. Even though it's very simple verse, Krishna says, right? I'm just putting in the screen. Natve vagam jatunasam natvam neme janatipaha. Nachevana bhavishyamaga sarve vayam ataparam. Na, never, tu, but, eva, certainly, aham, I, jatu, at any time, na, did not, asam, exist, na, not, from, you, na, not, ime, all this, jana adipaha, kings, na, never, cha, also, eva, certainly, na, not, bhavishyamaga, shall exist, sarve vayam, all of us, ataparam, hereafter. Right? The translation Prabhupada gives, never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings. Nor in future shall any of us cease to be. So this clearly tells that we are all eternal spirit souls. Now, if we are all eternal spirit souls, what is this body? That's what in the next verse Krishna said. Deginosmin yata dehe kaumaram yavvanam jara tada dehandra praptir derastatra namuyati. Deginaha, of the embodied, asmin, in this, yata, as, dehe, in the body, kaumaram, boyhood, yavvanam, youth, jara, old age, tata, similarly, dega antara, of the transference of the body, praptihi, achievement, dhiraha, the sober, tatra, thereupon, na, never, muhyati, is deluded. Translation Prabhupada gives, as the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So in the previous verse, we learned that we are eternal spirit souls. Now in this verse, we are understanding two important points. That body is a temporary thing, it is constantly going through change. And that change is happening because of the presence of the soul. So here the word given is embodied soul, deginaga, right? Deginaga means the one who owns the deha is called dehi. So we are all embodied, means we are all conditioned within this material body. There is embodied soul and there is liberated soul. We are all conditioned or embodied in this material world. Because the embodied soul is present within this body, because of the presence of the body, presence of the soul, the body is continuously going through the change from the boyhood to youth to old age. So when the body completely becomes useless, the soul altogether leaves this body and moves on to another body. How in every moment the body is changing, even according to modern science, every 7 years all our cells are completely replaced. But still I am the same person. So that means I am not this body. Even though my body had completely changed, the body I had when I was like 1 year old, I don't have that body anymore. Because the change is going through continuous, still I think that I have the same body. But technically speaking, none of the cells exist in this current body. All my body is completely replaced. So I don't have that body anymore. Still I am the same person. My identity is still same. So that means I am not this body. I am the unchanging identity within that body. So when the soul sees that the body become useless, when that contract to that body is over, then the soul has to move on to another body. How? Later, Krishna is going to give that example, analogy of how when somebody is wearing a cloth, when that cloth becomes useless, when the shirt becomes useless, we get rid of the shirt and get a new shirt. So like that, the soul moves on to another body at the time of death. A sober person, dhiraha, a sober person is not bewildered because of the change. He knows that we are not this body, we are all eternal spirit soul. Soul does not have birth or death. It continuously goes on. Only the body has a beginning and end. So because he knows the truth, a sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So this is the second important shloka. And then the next shloka is a very important shloka. The eternal Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha soul, when it is put in Asat Achit Nirananda body, right? There is an incompatibility. The soul is spirit, body is material, right? When there's two incompatible, soul is Sat, eternal, Chit, conscious, Ananda, full of joy. Body is Asat, temporary, Achit, it's dull, inert, and Nirananda, there is no happiness. Right? When these two incompatible things are put together, when the soul identifies itself with the body, the duality arises. So that's that verse we saw last week. Matra sparshastu kaunteya Shidoshana Shugadukadaha Agama Paino Anityas Tamsha Tidikshava Bharata. Matra sparsha, sensory perception, tu only, Kaunteya, O son of Kunti, Shita, winter, Ushna, summer, Shuka, happiness, Dukkha, and pain, Daha, giving, Agama, appearing, Apayinaha, disappearing, Anityaha, non-permanent, Tan, all of them, Tidikshava, just try to tolerate, Bharata, O descendant of Bharata dynasty. Translation, Prabhupada is, O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness in distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O Shayan of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So we saw that the eternal soul is put in this temporary body, this duality arises, heat and cold, good and bad, happiness and suffering, honor and dishonor, love and hate, right and wrong, right? All this duality is arising because the soul is misidentifying itself with the body. And because of our sense perception, through our mind, we are experiencing all these dualities. Now, Krishna is telling one has to learn to tolerate. And this instruction is the key to unlock whole Bhagavad Gita. If you consider, as I said earlier before, if you consider every shloka in Bhagavad Gita is a valuable jewel. The whole Bhagavad Gita is like a treasure box filled with all these precious jewels. But this jewelry box is locked. The treasure box is locked. To unlock it, you need a key. And this 2.14, second chapter, 14th verse, is the key to unlock the mystery of Bhagavad Gita. Specifically, this instruction, Tamsha Tidikshava Bharata, one has to learn to tolerate this duality in this world. Until we learn to tolerate, we will not be able to progress in our journey of learning. Because when we get elated by the temporary happiness of this world, we will get distracted. When we get depressed by the temporary sufferings of this world, we will get distracted from the goal of life, the journey of learning, the spiritual evolution. That is why Krishna is telling that one has to learn to tolerate. Until we tolerate the both so-called happiness and suffering of this world, then our discrimination will not work properly. Because of elation of the temporary happiness and depression of the temporary sufferings, we will not be able to keep our goal in the path. We will get distracted. Hence, this verse acts as a key to unlock the mystery behind Bhagavad Gita. As long as we live in this material world, as long as we have the material body, one has to learn to tolerate the so-called sufferings and happiness in this world. Otherwise, we will get distracted from the goal. So this 3 verses, 3 shlokas, as I mentioned, is very, very important. I highly recommend, because we have 18 chapters contain 700 shlokas of Bhagavad Gita. If one could memorize all the shlokas, it is great, fantastic. But in this age of Kali, we have all Kali Yuga short memory, Hence our memory is short. We may not be able to memorize all the verses. At least a few key shlokas, if we memorize, it will help us at a critical moment. These shlokas will come in front of us to remind. So these are some of the key philosophical verses which will help us to remind. It'll act as a guiding light in our time of difficulty, these verses. So hence we in the throughout Bhagavad Gita around 30 key shlokas are there. These 3 is among those 30. And as I mentioned, if you can memorize this, it will be really helpful. And what I will do also, I will share, audio recordings of this shloka. The 3 MP3 files for the 3 of the shloka I will share. So when you hear and repeat, it's easy to memorize. When you're hearing, you just follow the words given in the text, then you know how to pronounce those words. So then by repeated hearing, we can memorize. Sometimes, the devotees ask me how to memorize the shloka. There is no magic in it. It's simply, repetition. You repeat, immediately hearing and repeat yourself verbally, you will memorize. Now, over the period of time, if you memorized it, after some time, if you don't use it, we will lose it. So we should repeatedly chant for memory, and then also we should present this shlokas in appropriate time. When we quote the shloka and the meaning of the shloka, then our memory becomes more firmer. So that way these shlokas will be ingrained forever in our mind. So and will help us at the crucial junctions to remind us the key philosophical points in our journey. I thought I will go a little more deeper on these 3 verses, and we are also recording this, and then others who could not join online today, so they can also hear a little bit more insight into these verses from the recording. Prashant ji, does that was that useful, helpful?
Yeah, it was definitely helpful. That is, I think the idea of those 30 shlokas and MP3 of the 3 shlokas makes sense. That will be useful.
No, if we could memorize all the 700 shlokas, it is great. But at least now, before we memorize the 700 shlokas, at least the 30 key shlokas we memorize, and at least the philosophical points will be clear in the Gita.
Agreed. I think that is a good plan, and 30 should not be difficult.
Yes. Yes. So I will share those 30 shlokas in a Word document as well, PDF document. And then also I will share the, the MP3s as we progress. I will put it in
Right.
the Google Drive, the MP3s. So people can download MP3 and put it in their phone, when they're driving or when they're doing something, and then they can hear the shloka repeatedly, so that it helps them to memorize.
Yeah, I think that will be a great idea. And then if you can share the word file of those 30 shlokas, that
Correct.
way, when we
Correct.
reach that stage
Correct.
during
Correct.
this weekly class,
Yeah.
we would already have awareness of that. And
Correct. Correct.
yeah.
So another key way to remember the shlokas is to understand first, when you read a shloka, first we learn to pronounce, and then we identify the words which we might be familiar already, or some of the words might be already, even if your mother tongue is not Sanskrit or any of the languages, any language your mother tongue, some of the words might be there in your mother tongue already, or equivalent words. When you connect with those words, then you will understand the meaning of those words. So that way, they will act as a key pillar in remembering the meaning of the shloka. Like, for example, right, matra, right, is sensory, matra sparsha means sensory perception. Sita and Ushna, right, heat and cold. Sugar and dukkha, right, happiness and suffering. Like that, we can understand some key words which maybe we can relate with those words in our native language, in our mother tongue. So that way, we are familiar with the words in the shloka. Then it's matter of time, we just put together those words in a particular rhythm, and then the meaning of the shloka is already known. That way, the shloka will remain with us forever. See, a lot of times now people memorize the Sanskrit, but they may not know the meaning. So in order to, act according to those verses, we also have to know the meaning, right? So that's why it is important to know the shloka as well as the meaning. Okay. So, and I think anything else you want me to cover in future sessions apart from the different Vedic philosophies, right? Advaitavad, Vishishtadvaitavad, Dvaitavad, and Achintya Beda, and then
I
different
think I
philosophies.
think I think that is, at least for now, that is the main
Correct,
thing for me.
correct. Very good, very good. So then we'll stop here today. I
Okay.
think, because Katyayani ji could not join today. She sent me a message earlier in the afternoon.
Okay.
And last week, I'm really sorry about last week that I somehow, because I got stuck somewhere driving, and then I completely lost track of time.
No problem. No problem.
So I'm sorry that I kept you waiting on the call.
No problem. I think one thing you may want to consider, if it is
Yes.
not inconvenient, I
Yes.
know for some people for me it is fine, but for some people who are on the West Coast in California, like Katia, this time, the scheduled time becomes like 4:30 a.m. for her,
Okay.
right? And so I don't know if anyone is from California, same thing will, for them it will be 3:30. So what you may want to do is, when there is a change of time,
Yes.
keep it so that central time is not before 6:30 a.m. like right now. That way most people will be able to join.
Sure. Let me also discuss. Send a message to the group and see.
Right.
We'll propose some time to a little later in the day,
Right.
and then
I
we'll
think
see.
what you can do is keep the same time as earlier, but when the clock turns back, In
Okay,
US,
okay.
just push it out by 1 hour. That's it.
Sure. Ji. That's a very
Because
good.
see, what will happen is if you ask a large group open-ended question,
Correct.
then they will suggest too many times and will not
Correct.
agree on something. So this was working earlier, and
Yes,
just
yes.
say that after time change,
Yes.
I have realized this is what has happened, and
Correct.
we'll push it
Because
out during daylight saving time. We'll
parent
push it
savings
out.
already changed now in US now?
It changed in actually 3 weeks ago.
Correct. And the beginning of December, right? By end of after the
November, beginning of November,
correct. After the what do they call Halloween festival?
Right.
Halloween
That's right.
starts.
Right.
Correct. I didn't think about it at all. Completely forgotten.
Right.
So
I was thinking about it. I should
yeah,
have said something.
thanks for bringing that to my mind, to me, and then I will change. Then next week, then we'll push it out a little bit down, right?
Right.
So that everybody, it's convenient for everybody,
Right. And if you convey the message to them ahead of time, that way they will know
everybody can plan
whatever the final decision is.
You are in Central Time, G?
For me, it is okay. This earlier time is okay too because I'm an early riser. So for me, it doesn't make a difference. But I was just thinking about those on the West Coast, because I know for a fact for Katia, it is 4:30 a.m. for her.
Correct. Yeah. Thank you, G. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Yeah.
Okay. Then thank you very much for today's discussion.
Yes.
Thank you for the time, Swamiji. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Tyagarajan.
Bye.
Hare Krishna.